He walks in like it's just another meeting. Pressed uniform. No tie. Smile sharp enough to cut. The courtroom's too quiet. Not the kind of quiet that says respect. The kind that says watch him. They say this hearing's routine. They say it's just procedure. But someone placed 4 security guards in the back, just in case. He doesn't flinch when they show the photos. Doesn't blink when victims speak. He chuckles once, quiet, like the punchline was too good to keep in. Across from him, the judge adjusts her robe. She's calm, measured, black, female. She looks him in the eye and reads the first charge like it's the weather report. He doesn't notice her hand is shaking slightly. Or maybe he does. Maybe he thinks that means he's still in control. The reporters scribble. Phones stay recording. And no one knows it yet. But this isn't the part people will remember. That comes later. If you've ever seen someone smirk while truth closes in, hit like. Some men lose their careers quietly. Some set fire to the courtroom first. The first time Derek Langford put on the badge, it fit too well. He was 24, fresh out of academy. Good jawline, better posture, eyes that didn't blink when others shouted. That first day, his father shook his hand and said, "Don't take shit from anyone, ever." He listened. Now 17 years later, the badge is duller. But Derek's posture? Still perfect. He walks into the department like he owns the ground. Not because of rank, but because no one ever tells him no. Today is different. The precinct hallway doesn't echo like usual. No one offers a casual morning Langford. He passes 2 rookies. Both look away. He smirks. "Cowards," he mutters. Inside briefing, Captain Ramirez avoids eye contact. He's never liked Derek, but he's never stood in his way either. "Internal affairs will be here by 10, Ramirez says, not looking up. "You'll be present. Department rep will observe." Derek leans back. "I'm not getting fired if that's what you're asking." Silence. He taps his pen on the table. "Didn't think so." 3 weeks earlier, someone uploaded a video. Bodycam footage Derek didn't know was saved to cloud. A kid, barely 17, handcuffed on the sidewalk, crying. Derek's voice saying, "You people never learn. Maybe pain helps." The video hit 300,000 views in a day. Comments weren't kind. The mayor called it disturbing. The union called it selective context. Derek called it bullshit. "Little punks scream racism every time they don't get their way," he told his partner. And the press eats it up. His partner didn't reply. The day of the hearing, Derek arrives early. Polished boots, ironed uniform. He brings no lawyer, just his badge. The receptionist at the courthouse asks for his ID. He raises an eyebrow. "I've walked into this building for years." "I still need to log you," she says. Her voice is soft. She doesn't look up. He leans in. "I'm Officer Langford." "I know." She types faster. The hearing room is smaller than he expected. A table, 4 chairs, a row of benches, cameras on the far wall. He sits where he wants. Doesn't wait to be told. People file in. 2 from the Civilian Oversight Board. 1 from the department. And her. Judge Charlotte Monroe. She's not in robes. Plain blouse. Dark blazer. No jewelry. She sits down quietly. Looks at no one. He glances at her skin, then her face. No expression. No warmth. Just eyes like stone. "Figures," he mutters. No one hears. Or pretends not to. The hearing begins with a statement of facts. IA reads off a timeline. Dates. Accusations. Use of force in 5 incidents. 3 complaints of racial bias. 2 pending lawsuits. For questionable arrests without charge. Derek leans back, arms crossed. He's heard it all before. "They're just mad I do the job right," he says once. Loud enough for the stenographer to pause. Judge Monroe looks up briefly. No reaction. Just back to the next point. One by one, civilians speak. A woman says Derek slammed her nephew against a fence. Another man says Derek pointed a gun during a traffic stop because his music was loud. Someone else, officer turned whistleblower, says Derek's used slurs. Always when he thinks his mic is off. Derek smirks. "They're just mad I'm not polite," he says again. To criminals. Midway through, he gets bored. Starts staring at the ceiling. Then at Judge Monroe. He wonders how old she is. He bets she went to law school on a scholarship. He bets she doesn't like cops. He bets a lot of things. What he doesn't bet on is that she's not blinking. Not once during any testimony. Not when the videos play. Not when he chuckles during a man's account of being shoved face down into concrete. At break, he goes outside to smoke. 2 officers from another precinct stand nearby. They don't say hi. He offers a nod. They look through him. He lights up anyway. Blows smoke toward the sky. "I give this thing a week," he says out loud. "Then they'll sweep it. Like always." No one responds. Back inside, Judge Monroe begins reading from a report. It's not evidence. It's a performance review, written by his last supervisor. Line by line, she reads, "Langford is competent, but aggressive. Reluctant to de-escalate. Avoids paperwork on questionable detainments. Dismissive of complaints from non-white civilians." Derek scoffs. "Don't take shit from anyone," his father once said. That voice still lives in him, still tells him he's right. But then she says something different. She pauses, looks at him directly. It is the opinion of this panel that Officer Derek Langford's continued presence in law enforcement represents an ongoing threat to public trust and safety. Silence. She continues. "We recommend permanent dismissal and ineligibility for reinstatement." There's a beat. Then another. He blinks. The room doesn't move. She puts the paper down, folds her hands, looks at him like she's been waiting to see that exact face. The moment when arrogance hits a wall. His ears ring. Something under his skin tightens. He looks around. No one's shocked. Everyone knew. Everyone but him. He stands slowly. Someone says, "Sir, please sit." He doesn't. He points at Monroe. His voice cracks. "You think you can judge me?" Her eyes stay on him, unblinking. "You think because you wear that? You're beneath me. You always were." He takes one step forward. Security shifts. She doesn't flinch. But this is not the part people will remember. The silence after her words isn't quiet. It's pressure. The kind that hums in your chest and makes your teeth buzz. Derek Langford doesn't sit. He won't sit. His fists curl at his sides, knuckles bright white against dark blue. He's still in uniform, still wearing the badge. But something about him doesn't look official anymore. He looks like a man whose foundation just split down the middle. Security steps closer. Not fast, slow, measured. Like they're trying not to break the scene too early. Derek sees them, but he doesn't care. He points again at Judge Monroe. "You think this means something?" he says, voice rising. "Some political stunt? You want it gone? Fine. But don't act like you're better than me." Judge Monroe doesn't respond. She adjusts a pen, sits straighter, keeps eye contact. That drives him mad. "I've put animals in cages more respectful than you," Derek says. Gasps ripple. One woman in the back lowers her phone, like she can't watch anymore. A board member leans in to whisper to legal counsel. They start drafting a statement right there. Derek paces. He's not just angry, he's unraveling. "You weren't in those streets," he says. "You didn't see what we see. You read papers and call it justice. You wear a robe and think it makes you queen. You don't get to undo my career with one sentence." Still, Monroe says nothing. Her silence is louder than his shouting. And Derek hates silence. He spent years breaking it. With sirens, fists, boots, commands. "Say something," he snaps. "Come on, you want me out? Say it to my face." Still nothing. She just looks, reads him, like she's watching a fire start in a house made of lies. That's when he says it. "This is what I get for letting you people run things." Gasps again, louder. Phones go up. Judge Monroe's brow lifts slightly. A motion so small it could be missed. But Derek sees it. "Yeah, that got a reaction, huh?" He smiles. It's not confident. It's feral. Security takes a step in. Derek spins on them. "Don't touch me." One of them radios. Another unclips something from his belt. The room isn't a hearing anymore. It's a fuse. And Derek? He's holding the match. Then he walks forward. 1 step. 2. A board member stands, blocking his path. Derek brushes past. 3 steps. He's at the table now, right in front of her. They're eye to eye. He leans in. "You don't deserve that chair. You only got there because people are scared of what'll happen if they don't promote the right skin tone." Charlotte Monroe doesn't blink. She just says, "Officer Langford, you are being warned." But her voice doesn't tremble, doesn't rise. It lands. That makes it worse. Derek's chest heaves. He doesn't understand how she's calm, how she's winning without raising a hand. Then for the first time, his voice drops to a whisper. You think you're in control. You're not. And then it happens. His hand lifts, fast, open palm, straight across the cheek. Not a punch, a slap. Deliberate, public, clear. The sound rings out like a shot. The entire room freezes. No one breathes. The moment stretches too long, too loud in the mind. Monroe doesn't fall. She doesn't flinch, but her head turns with a force. Hair shifts. A page slides off the table, and then silence. Security is on him in seconds. Not rough, professional. But there's no debate. Hand behind his back. Badge taken. Weapon removed. The audience doesn't move. They don't need to. The man just convicted himself. Monroe adjusts her jaw with her hand. Still calm. Still composed. Then softly, that will be entered as evidence. Outside the room, the hallway buzzes. Phones go wild. Clips are already online. People are texting headlines before the room even clears. The comments won't be about the slap. They'll be about how she stood still. Back inside, Derek is still shouting. I served this city. You're making a mistake. They'll back me. I'll sue. You hear me? But no one answers. Not even Monroe. She just writes something on a notepad and passes it to her clerk. Later, the department issues a statement. The headline reads, Officer Langford placed under arrest following attack on sitting judge during hearing. It trends for 3 days. But the clip of the slap, it never stops trending. What Derek doesn't know yet is that every courtroom, every academy, every precinct from here forward will use his name as an example. This is what happens when unchecked power meets accountability. But that's later. For now, they lead him out in cuffs. He screams that he was provoked, that it was bias, that it was unfair. He calls her names on the way out. All of them recorded. As for Monroe, she sits quietly, doesn't touch her cheek again, doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. Because part 3, that's where he realizes no one is coming to defend him. The handcuffs don't hurt. Not yet. But the hallway does. It's the same hallway he used to patrol. Same floors he used to walk in boots that echoed like warnings. Now the only sound is the click of his own cuffs and footsteps that aren't his. 2 officers walk on either side of him. Neither speaks. He knows one of them, Officer Kent, 3 years younger, used to laugh at Derek's jokes in the locker room. Now, Kent stares straight ahead, won't look him in the eye. Outside the courthouse, the crowd has grown. Not protesters. Yet, just people. Phones up, eyes wide, mouths closed. He thinks someone will say something. Anything. Let him go. He didn't mean it. This is political. But they don't. They just record. A voice from the crowd says, "He really hit her?" Another replies, "Yeah," in front of everyone. That word, everyone, rings in his chest. He looks down, not ashamed, just calculating. They load him into the back of a squad car. The door slams harder than needed. The windows are tinted, but not enough to hide the cameras still filming. He leans his head back. He doesn't close his eyes. At the station, they don't use holding cell number 3. That's where he used to throw drunks for the night. Instead, they put him in holding cell number 1, visible from the front desk, like a trophy or a warning. Sergeant Dale comes to fingerprint him. Derek used to play poker with Dale. Tonight, Dale wears gloves. He doesn't say hello, doesn't joke, just left hand first. Derek doesn't argue. In the processing room, a young officer snaps his mugshot. Derek leans forward. "You know who I am?" The kid shrugs. "Not like that, sir." That word, sir, doesn't land like it used to. It's more habit than respect now. A formality, an echo. They let him make a phone call. He doesn't call a lawyer. He calls his brother. 3 rings. 4. Voicemail. "Hey, it's Derek. You've probably seen it. Look, just call me back, all right?" No callback. By 10 p.m., his name is trending nationally. Not in support, not in outrage, in curiosity. Who is Officer Langford? Why did he hit a judge? How many complaints did he have? He scrolls on the holding cell tablet, an old device mounted to the wall. Reddit threads, Twitter clips, slow motion breakdowns of the slap. One has over 3 million views. He watches it 5 times. Every time, the sound is louder. At midnight, Captain Ramirez visits. No ceremony, no handshake, just a clipboard. These are your termination papers. Derek stares. All ready? Ramirez nods. Effective immediately. Pension, suspended pending review. Union won't intervene. Why not? Ramirez meets his eyes. Because you hit a judge on camera. Derek leans forward. She provoked me. Silence. Ramirez slides the papers over. You provoked yourself. In the morning, the news vans are still outside. They blur his face now. Too late. Everyone already knows. A woman he arrested 5 years ago posts her story. Then another. Then a thread. Then a hashtag. Hashtag Langford list. Each post tells the same story. He pulled me over for no reason. He called me boy. He told me to watch my tone. He searched my car because I had music on. They pile up, not rage, receipts. By noon, his union rep sends a text. We're out. That's it. No greeting. No apology. Just we're out. At 3 p.m. his mother calls. She's crying. I don't understand. You were a good cop. He wants to believe that. But her voice isn't strong. It's soft. Like she's trying to convince herself. He doesn't reply. At 4 p.m., Internal Affairs released bodycam footage of the arrest. He's not resisting, but he's shouting, screaming Monroe's name, calling her things that don't belong in any room, let alone a courtroom. The public already knew. Now, they hear it, unfiltered. A former partner goes on record anonymously. We saw it building. Just didn't think he'd snap like that. Another writes a long post. We excused a lot. And maybe that's why he thought he could go that far. Derek scrolls in his cell. His name is no longer a badge. It's a warning. Don't be a Langford. He doesn't sleep that night. Not because of guilt. Not yet. But because for the first time in 17 years, no one's on his side. There's no press conference. No lawyer at his side. No solemn "we respect due process" from the department. Just a digital booking photo. Released at 8:42 a.m. sharp. Mugshot Derek Langford. Charges: assault of a public official. Status: held without bail pending arraignment. The comments are instant. He really slapped a judge? In open court? Why wasn't he in cuffs already? Why was he ever a cop? There's no debate. Just a flood. And for the first time, Derek can't yell over it. The police department holds a press conference. Not for him. About him. They use phrases like, "No one is above the law. We take this seriously. We have launched a full internal review." Captain Ramirez stands behind the podium. He does not mention Derek's name. Not once. When asked about his history, Ramirez simply says, "That officer no longer represents this department." Derek watches it from his holding cell. He doesn't react, but his jaw tightens. Later that day, the district attorney files charges. 2 felonies. 3 misdemeanors. Intentional physical contact with a judicial officer. Use of racial slurs in a public setting under color of authority. Obstruction of a legal proceeding. He wants to scream. Wants to say it wasn't planned. That it was heat. But no one's listening now. He's transferred to a detention center. Not jail. Not yet. But it's not the kind of place where people recognize him with respect. A CO checks his file. "You're the guy who slapped that judge?" Derek doesn't answer. "Good luck, man," the guard says. Not cruel, not mocking, just final. That night, the stories keep coming. Old complaints resurface. One woman says she tried to file a report in 2019. No one responded. A teenager says Derek pushed him into gravel for not answering fast enough. One article gathers 10 cases. Another 20. BuzzFeed runs a headline. How many people did Officer Langford silence? The subhead reads, "And how long did his silence protect him?" An old training instructor posts a statement. "I taught him. He had discipline, but no humility. I should have failed him." A former sergeant comments under it. "You weren't the only one who stayed quiet." Back in the detention center, Derek gets a visitor. It's not family. It's a department lawyer. Not to help to process. "We're reviewing your pension. You'll likely lose all back benefits. There's no appeal. The union has withdrawn full support. Derek stares at the wall. I gave my life to this job. The lawyer nods. And that's what makes this worse. The court date is set. 3 weeks. In that time, he receives 2 letters. One from the State Bar Association. They're reviewing Judge Monroe's case to recommend increased judicial protections. The other? From the governor's office. Your actions have prompted review of courtroom security policy. Your name will be cited in the reform proposal. He isn't thanked, just used. The irony doesn't land well. The day before the arraignment, he tries to call an old friend, Officer Kevin Raines, his partner for 3 years, the one who used to back him in every report. No answer. So he leaves a voicemail. Kev, you know this isn't who I am. Call me back, man. He hangs up. He doesn't say it, but he knows there won't be a callback. In court, they bring him in through a side door. No cuffs, but still watch closely. The room is half full. Media, lawyers, staff, no friendly faces. He spots Monroe seated behind partition. Present, but not presiding. She doesn't look at him. She doesn't need to. The judge reads the charges. He pleads not guilty. There's no reaction in the room, not even a whisper. His lawyer, court-appointed, files a motion for bail. The DA counters, shows the video again, still frame, audio clip, the words, "You people don't deserve that chair. Queen." Then the slap. It lands louder each time it's replayed. The judge denies bail, cites risk of volatility, and threat to public confidence. Derek's lawyer places a hand on his arm. He shrugs it off. In the holding area afterward, he asks the guard a question. What do people say when they watch that clip? The guard pauses. Mostly, they say, "He was always like that. We just didn't see it." That night, Derek Langford sits alone. His badge number used to mean something. It used to open doors, close mouths, quiet the truth. Now, it's just a case number in a file. And he's not the one writing the report anymore. The cell is colder now, not physically, but in how it holds him. Before, the walls felt temporary, like they were waiting for someone to post bail, for a lawyer to cut a deal, for the world to realize this was all a misunderstanding. But that illusion's gone. Now the walls don't hold him. They just let him sit inside the wreckage. He's given schedule. Wake at 6. Roll call. Breakfast. Chores. No privileges yet. No TV. No visitors. They say it's for safety. They mean is. In the cafeteria, inmates whisper. No threats. No fights. But the stares cut sharper than fists. Someone leaves a tray untouched at the edge of his table. The message is clear. You don't belong to any side anymore. One afternoon, a guard brings mail. 3 letters. The first is from the department. Your personal locker has been cleared. Contents inventoried. Badge destroyed. The second is from a local paper. A request for interview. He tears it in half. The third, a handwritten envelope from his mother. He opens it slowly. Derek, I raised you to stand tall, but not to stand on others. I don't know how we got here. I still love you, but I don't recognize who you became. Please tell me the truth. Not what they said, not what you think, just the truth. Your mother. He folds it, doesn't cry, just breathes harder. That night, he asks the guard for a pencil. He writes nothing. He sharpens it, breaks it, throws both halves away. A few days later, he's taken for a psych evaluation. Standard procedure. The therapist asks simple things. Do you feel remorse? Do you regret your actions? Do you believe the judge was provoked? Derek stares at her, says nothing for 10 seconds. Then, she baited me. How, she asks. She sat there, looking at me, like she already decided, like I was scum. And that made you hit her? That made me snap. She writes, doesn't nod, doesn't judge, just documents. Later, her report is leaked. It says, subject shows signs of narcissistic injury when challenged. Tends to equate disagreement with personal betrayal. Demonstrates emotional detachment from consequences. Views authority as a challenge rather than structure. Derek reads it on the shared tablet. His name clinical. His mind dissected. He hurls the tablet at the wall. It doesn't break. He does. The day after, he's called to testify in a civil case. One of his old arrests, a man named Raymond Soto, is suing for battery. Derek's footage was buried back then. Now it's evidence. In the deposition room, Raymond stares at him, not angry, just tired. "You remember me?" he asks. Derek doesn't answer. "You told me I looked like trouble. You said I'd be dead before 30. I'm 34 now. You remember any of that?" Still silence. "No, of course not, because I was just one of many. But you were the only cop I ever met who looked happy doing it." That line, happy doing it, it sits like lead in Derek's throat. Afterward, Derek walks back to his cell. He doesn't speak all day. That night, he dreams of badge numbers. He doesn't remember what they meant. 2 weeks later, his public defender tells him a plea deal is on the table. Reduced sentence. No prison, community service, probation. All he has to do is admit guilt, issue apology, surrender all claims of unfair treatment. Derek hesitates. "If I do that, it's over." The lawyer nods. It already is. He asks for one more day to think. He spends a pacing, writing apology drafts, tearing them up. He practices the words. "I was wrong. I let my anger win. I failed the people I swore to serve." Each time, his throat tightens. Then, as evening falls, he walks to the edge of his cell, grabs the metal bar, leans into it, and whispers, "I don't even know who I am without the badge." No one answers, not even the walls. It starts with a post, a blurry photo of Derek Langford standing over a man in cuffs. No timestamp, no caption, just, "He did this to my brother, 2017. The post gains traction. Someone replies, "He shoved my sister outside a gas station. I thought we were the only ones." I tried to complain. They laughed. By morning, the hashtag's back. Hashtag Langford list. Hashtag they remember. News outlets begin pulling records. Use of force reports. Dismissed internal complaints. Bodycam clips never filed officially. There's a pattern. Same language. Same faces. Same officer. 3 people go live together. All of them black. All detained by Derek between 2016 and 2020. One says, "He looked at me like I wasn't supposed to talk. Like existing was a crime." Another, "He called me boy in front of my daughter. She asked if I'd done something wrong. I didn't know what to say." The third one, a woman. She stares into the camera. "I begged. I told him my baby was in the back seat. He said I was hysterical. He made me sit on the sidewalk for 40 minutes. When I finally got up, the baby was screaming." She breaks, but continues. That's who he was, not just a slap. All of it. The video hits 2 million views, then 5, then 10. People who never knew Derek Langford now know everything about him, not through reports, but through the people he thought would never be heard. Talk shows start debating, not whether he was wrong, but whether they let it go on too long. One host says, "This wasn't a fall from grace. He was falling the whole time. We just didn't look down." Even his former precinct speaks. An officer, still active, gives an anonymous interview. He was protected, not officially, but no one wanted to be the one who brought it up. We joke about his temper, about how internal affairs always lost the tape. None of it was funny, not now. Then comes Monroe. Judge Charlotte Monroe releases a statement. For lines, "I am not broken. I do not want revenge. I want systems that don't need heroes to stand alone. And I want silence to stop being an option." The post is shared over 30,000 times in a day. One reply reads, "She didn't yell. She didn't flinch. She just stood, and we followed." The City Council announces a new bill, the Monroe Accountability Act. Mandatory third-party reviews of force complaints. Transparency in officer histories. Public tracking of misconduct. They cite Derek's case in the introduction. His name, now inked into reform. Meanwhile, Derek sees none of it directly. He's not online, not in public, but word spreads. Even inside, other inmates whisper the headlines. "That's the guy. Didn't think anyone like him would end up here. Man slapped the judge and thought he'd walk away." In group therapy, someone says it to his face. "You were a cop, right?" Derek nods. "Bet you were real proud of that." No reply. The man smirks. Now you're just another guy waiting for lunch. The media stops saying alleged. His old nickname on the force, Big D, becomes a joke online. Big D energy, D for disgraced. Badge to bars, the Derek Langford story. A streaming service announces a documentary in production. The tagline? The slap heard in every courtroom. Back in his cell, Derek reads the public file. 53 complaints, 29 dismissed, for resulted in written warnings. None suspended him. Until now, his new lawyer tells him the civil suits are stacking. He'll be buried in cases for years. They want money, and statements, and blood. He sighs. They just want to ruin me. The lawyer pauses. No, Derek, they want to be heard. Later, his brother finally calls, not to comfort him, to say, don't contact mom again. She's tired. We all are. Derek says nothing, just stares at the wall. In the final clip that goes viral, someone plays footage from that first courtroom hearing. Just one still frame. Derek pointing, eyes wild. Monroe motionless. A student overlays text. Power isn't loud. It's who's still standing when the shouting stops. Derek used to be the one they listened to. Now, he's the cautionary tale parents tell their kids. That boss's show and training. That jurors remember when no one's watching. It starts with a headline. Langford to face open trial. Courtroom will be public. The article is short. The impact isn't. No closed doors. No negotiated statements. Just a courtroom. Open to press and public. Civil rights groups cheer. It's about time officers face us with the lights on. Legal analysts brace. This won't just be about the slap. It'll be about the system that allowed it. The date is set, August 14th. People mark calendars like it's a premiere. TV networks assign coverage teams. Streaming services launch explainers. TikTok creators prep breakdowns. Who is Judge Monroe? How many complaints did Langford have? What does use of force actually mean? This isn't just a case anymore. It's a mirror. Derek is briefed. His lawyer warns, this won't be like the arraignment. They'll question everything. Your language, your silence, your face. Every word you ever said in uniform can and will be used. Derek scoffs. They want show. His lawyer doesn't disagree. Then try not to give them a finale. Meanwhile, public statements roll in. From the Police Accountability Union. We support justice. We do not defend violence against the bench. From the Association of Black Judges. The robe should shield all non-invite attack. From the mayor. Let this trial be a message. Bias and brutality are not badges. They are breaks in the system. Even Monroe releases a video. It's simple. No makeup, no microphone, no edits. She sits in a quiet room and says, I'm not here to speak for all women, or all black people, or all judges, but I will speak for this. There are lines that, once crossed, don't take you back. Not because we won't forgive, but because the harm doesn't reverse. Her words echo in churches, in schools, in late-night monologues. At the same time, a counter-narrative rises, small but sharp. He was provoked. This is about politics, not justice. If he wasn't white, would you care this much? Comment sections divide. Podcasts erupt. A former officer on national radio says, Langford was a good cop in a bad moment. But then a journalist responds, then why were there 53 bad moments? The divide is real, but not even. A public poll shows 74% say Langford should be convicted. 19% say let the court decide. 7% say he did nothing wrong. Even his supporters tread carefully. No one wants to defend the slap. They just want to rewrite the buildup. The prosecution builds their case. Timeline, testimonies, video archives. They find 4 officers willing to testify. 3 of them from his own precinct. One says he treated some people like problems before they spoke. He didn't see citizens. He saw suspects. Another, he told me once, don't worry about the cam if you say it low. They subpoena bodycam records, archive dashcam logs, training footage, even one internal chat thread. Derek, she's just another activist in robes. Colleague, careful that's your judge. Derek, exactly. That line makes it into the evidence binder. Bolded, Derek sees it all in pretrial review. His lawyer looks up. They don't want to just convict you. They want to make an example. Good, Derek spits. Let them see what happens when a cop stops backing down. His lawyer exhales through his nose. That's not strength, Derek. That's a collapse. Outside the courtroom, rallies grow. Some peaceful, some tense. One sign reads, "Justice isn't real if it flinches." Another, "She didn't." At a press conference, Monroe finally stands behind a podium. Just once. Not to cry, not to relive, but to anchor the public. He didn't slap me because he lost control. He slapped me because I didn't. That line becomes a banner, a slogan, a turning point. Meanwhile, Derek is moved to a secure holding facility. Not for punishment, for safety. Some threats, some chants, but mostly attention. Too much of it. He spends his nights watching silence. That's what court looks like now. Still walls, folded hands, the sound of power retreating. One night, he dreams of badge numbers again. They don't arrange in order. They just blur. And every time he tries to say one, it turns into a complaint number. He wakes up sweating. No cellmate to hide it from. No locker room to bluff through it. Just him, and the echo of a name he thought was untouchable. His own. August 14th. The doors open. And this time, they don't shut behind the public. There's standing room only. 3 rows of press. 2 sketch artists. 1 camera stream. Live with a 30-second delay. This isn't just a trial. It's a reckoning. Derek Langford enters in a suit. No uniform. No badge. No insignia. The only symbol he carries is the silence around him. No one nods. No one acknowledges. He's not feared. He's not respected. He's just present. The prosecution begins with a video. Not the slap. Not yet. It's older. A dash cam clip from 2018. A routine stop. A voice says, "You fit the description." Of what? Of the kind of person who ends up in cuffs. Gasps ripple. The prosecutor doesn't speak. Just lets the room feel that line. Then, that was Officer Langford. That is his voice. And that is what happens when uniforms cover intent. They bring out the first witness, a former officer. She testifies quietly. We laughed at him sometimes, but not in front of him. No one challenged him because he made you feel like you'd be next. The defense objects. The judge overrules. The court moves forward. Then come the reports, compiled over years. A wall of paper that took less time to write than to ignore. Every complaint, every dismissal, every insufficient evidence stamped by someone who never reviewed the footage. Derek's expression doesn't change. Not when they play the body cam. Not when they show Monroe's red cheek in slow motion. Not when the DA reads his own words. Let her feel it. Sent in a message to a colleague, 2 hours after the slap. The colleague never replied. That silence is now Exhibit C. Judge Monroe is present. Not on the bench. Not on the stand. Just there, composed, centered. When Derek's lawyer refers to her as emotional, the prosecutor interrupts. Objection speculative. Sustained. Then comes the twist. An officer from Derek's unit steps forward. He hesitated for months. Feared backlash. Feared guilt. But he speaks now. I was with him the night before the hearing. He said if they tried to humiliate him, he'd make sure they regretted it. The courtroom freezes. His exact words? He said, "She wants to ruin my career with words? I'll end hers with one gesture." That quote becomes headline copy within the hour. Cross-examination tries to shake him. Why now? Why not then? His answer, because back then, I still thought silence made me neutral. Now I know it made me complicit. The judge nods slightly. No comment. The jury hears every word. Day 4. Derek is called to testify. He chooses not to. His lawyer agrees. But the courtroom feels that absence, like a spotlight falling on an empty chair. So instead, they play the full video, start to finish, every breath, every blink. His face when Monroe reads the charges. His eyes when she says the word dismissed. His hand as it rises and lands. You can hear the room inhale when it plays. Then, stillness, because there's nothing left to argue. In final statements, the prosecution says, He wasn't failed by the system. He was fueled by it. But today, the system didn't stay silent. Today, it finally spoke. The defense asks for mercy, blames pressure, cites stress, mentions his years of service. But even as they speak, no one writes anything down, because no one hears stress. They only hear the slap. Judge issues instructions to the jury. They're clear, precise, not dramatic. The deliberation lasts 3 hours. When the verdict comes, Derek watches without flinching. Guilt on all counts. No applause, no cheers, just the kind of silence that feels like accountability. He doesn't speak, not to the court, not to Monroe, not to anyone. He's taken out the same way he came in. Except now, even the doors don't look at him. The sentencing takes place 2 weeks after the verdict. No cameras this time. No headlines before noon. Just the sound of papers shuffling and feet echoing off polished floors. Derek Langford walks in wearing the same suit, but it fits looser now. His shoulders are smaller. His silence is heavier. The judge reads the charges again, formally, without emotion. Then, you are hereby sentenced to 7 years, with possibility of parole in 4. No early release. A pause. And in accordance with the court's authority, you are barred from holding any law enforcement, legal, or public safety role for life. Derek doesn't move, doesn't react, just stares ahead, as if the world ended 2 weeks ago. And this is just the debris. Outside the courthouse, a small crowd gathers. No protest signs, no chanting, just presence. People who came to see it closed, to remind themselves the system can sometimes respond. A mother holds her son's hand. He asks, "Is he going to jail?" She nods. "Yes." "Did he hurt people?" She hesitates. "He hurt trust." That quote ends up in a blog, then a tweet, then on the side of a bus. He didn't just hurt people, he hurt trust. Back in his cell, Derek receives a final letter. No return address. Inside is a single sentence. "You taught me what not to become." No signature. He tears it in half. Then again. But the words stay in his head like blood under fingernails. Meanwhile, Monroe returns to her normal docket. Traffic disputes, evictions, civil disagreements. But people watch her differently now. Not with sympathy, with certainty. That's the judge who stood still. She didn't flinch. She didn't fall. A month later, she's offered a federal nomination. She declines, releases a short statement. Justice doesn't need elevation. It needs consistency. On social media, her words are quoted like scripture. Justice isn't something you climb. It's something you carry. In school, students are assigned essays. What does accountability look like? In police academies, new cadets are shown the Langford case. Not to shame them, to warn them. Every uniform reflects the system. Make sure you're worth the mirror. One of the videos that resurfaces is from years before. Langford is younger, smiling. "I don't take crap from anyone," he says to the camera. "That's how you stay in control." That line used to be cheered. Now, it's shown with a caption. Control isn't power. Restraint is. His name becomes an example. Not in anger, not in mockery, just in clarity. At a town hall meeting, a woman stands up. She holds up a photo of her teenage son. He was pulled over, slammed against a car, told to shut up. Langford didn't kill him, but he convinced him to stop trusting police. The room goes quiet. She adds, "You want to fix this? Then stop asking for silence and start listening." People do. More officers step forward. More stories are validated. Not all are dramatic. Most are just small cracks that finally got sunlight. And Langford, he fades from the headlines, but not from the documents, not from the training manuals, not from the memory of every room he once walked into with a badge and walked out of without honor. He becomes the file that gets open. When someone says, "This is just one bad apple," and someone replies, "Then let's talk about the orchard." 3 years later, a high school auditorium fills with quiet footsteps and coffee cups. It's career day, but today, no one's talking about tech or finance. They're here for something else. A tall woman stands on stage. Blazer, calm eyes. She introduces herself. I'm Lieutenant Rowe, Internal Affairs Division, and I'm here to talk about what happens when we don't speak up. She doesn't mention his name. She doesn't have to. The students already know it. In the front row, a girl whispers to her friend, "This is about Langford, right?" The friend nods. "Yeah, the slap guy." But that's not what Rowe says. She clicks to slide 1, the officer, the complaints, the silence. Slide 2, the courtroom, the judge, the aftermath. Slide 3, the lesson. Across the city, a mural is unveiled. Not of Monroe, not of Derek, just a pair of open eyes and the words, "Don't blink when it matters." It's painted on the side of a library, in a neighborhood that once feared sirens. Now, they host Know Your Rights workshops every Friday. Monroe never attends, but her words are quoted on the flyer. Inside the prison library, Derek reads newspapers. He's not famous anymore, but once a year, his name resurfaces. He pretends not to care. He reads slower those weeks. One day he reads an op-ed. The cost of silence is always paid by someone else. He sets the paper down, doesn't finish his soup. Back in the city, Monroe returns to work like clockwork. She doesn't take interviews. She doesn't take praise. But she does one thing different now. Every month, she meets with new judges, freshly appointed, still nervous. She tells them this: you'll feel pressure to stay neutral. But neutrality is not justice. It's just delay. She doesn't mention Derek. But every new judge leaves with a printed card. Black text. No logo. Just, you don't need to speak loudly. Just clearly. An author publishes a book. The slap that opened a door. It's not sensational. It's careful. Chronological. Documented. Chapter 1 isn't the incident. It's the first complaint Derek ever received. The one, they said, was a misunderstanding. By now, the police department has changed protocols. Anonymous reporting allowed. Complaints sent to third-party reviewers. All camera footage uploaded daily to the cloud. No one says this is enough. They just say it's a start. One Sunday at a small church, a reverend gives a sermon. He talks about the Bible, then about courtrooms. There was a man who thought silence protected him until he raised his hand, and the world heard it louder than he ever meant. A boy in the front asks quietly, "What happened to him?" The reverend pauses. He's still here, just not in uniform. Outside, a plaque is mounted on a park bench. It reads, "In memory of every name not made famous, and every voice almost ignored." No dates, no names, just space. A journalist revisits the story for a podcast. They interview old neighbors, teachers, supervisors. Everyone says the same thing. He seemed in control. He never lost his temper, until he did. He believed the rules didn't apply to him. The final episode ends with the journalist saying, "Some stories don't echo because they were loud. They echo because no one stopped them while they were still quiet." Monroe, now gray at the temples, watches the sunset from a courthouse window. She doesn't smile, doesn't cry, just whispers, "I remember the sound." But more than that, I remember the silence right before it. That silence taught her something. It taught the whole city. And long after Derek Langford's name fades from memory, the lesson doesn't. Because the world doesn't always end with a bang. Sometimes it ends with a hand raised in arrogance and a room that never forgets it.